Alright, we're going to be doing a tire rotation on our 2007 Honda Odyssey. The tires are not directional. If you have directional tires, they'll have an arrow on them showing the rotation, and if that's the case, you have to keep them on the same side of the vehicle. So if you have something like that, you would keep your right side tires, just rotate, swap the front and back on the same side. But what we have, and what most tires are not directional, meaning that the front tire is going to rotate to the back on the same side, and then the back tires are going to crisscross to the front on the opposite side. And also just a reminder to remember to check the air in your spare tire when you do the air in all of your other tires at the end of the job. So some things that you'll need are jack stands, and you'll need at least one floor jack. I prefer to have two for safety, because once I jack up the front of the vehicle and put the front jack stands on, then I leave it there as a safety measure. Even though I have the weight of the vehicle on the jack stands, I leave the jack at the jack point, just where it would support the vehicle if one of the jack stands failed. So you're gonna need jacks and jack stands. You're gonna need a pair of gloves. You'll need to know your torque numbers for your lug nuts, which you'll find in your owner's manual or on the internet. For this Honda Odyssey, I use a 7/8" socket to remove the lug nuts, and when I torque them down at the end, I want them to be at 94 foot-pounds of torque. And so you'll see this is a torque wrench, and so we will be adjusting that. You'll also need possibly a breaker bar to get them loose at the beginning, or what's called a speed bar is also handy to have, but it's not something that you have to have. I also like to use a brake parts cleaner when I have all the wheels off and the brakes are exposed. I just spray the brake surface with the brake parts cleaner, and it just helps keep them clean over time. So we're going to get started by locating our jack locations. Okay, so the first step, after you've gotten your parts out that you're going to need and your equipment, before you jack up the vehicle, while the weight of the vehicle is holding those tires steady, you want to use something to break free every single lug nut on your vehicle. And this vehicle does not have a key to prevent theft, because these are just wheel covers. But if you have a theft prevention device, you're going to want to locate that key. It's probably in your glove compartment or where your spare tire is kept. And you're going to want to loosen up every lug nut on every wheel using, this is a breaker bar. You might have something called like a speed bar or something like that. But you're going to want to loosen up every one of those. Not a lot, just enough, like I'd say 2 turns of the lug nut would be. You don't really want to do more than that. You just want to get it loose so that when you get it up in the air, you're able to finish loosening those lug nuts. Your front jack point is going to be your front tow hook. So going under the front middle of the vehicle right here, you're going to see a tow hook right there. That's a tow hook. That's going to be your front jack point right there. So this is the back of the van. We're getting under the back of the van. And you're going to go past this. We're still. So you're going to get to the subframe right here. And right here, we're going to see this point right there. So that's where I'm going to put the jack, right there where that light's touching. Okay, so we use the front jack point, the tow hook, to lift the front of the vehicle up. We get our front jack stands in place with the front wheels off the ground, and then we let the front jack stay there for safety, but you need to put a couple inches of clearance between it and the front jack point while you do the back jack point, because when you lift up the rear of the vehicle, the front is going to come down a little bit, And so you want to make sure the weight stays on the jack stands, not on the jack once it's in the air. So we've done that. We've got all 4 wheels off the ground, and all the weight is on the 4 jack stands. And then the 2 jacks are still in place right up to the jack point in case we'd have a jack stand fall. We have added safety there. So now we're going to remove the wheels, put the front wheels to the rear on the same side, take the rear wheels, crisscross them over to the front on the opposite side. One of the things that I do when I rotate the tires is I get out a small flathead screwdriver, and when I see rocks that are embedded in the tread, I'll just use it to remove those. So that's just something optional, but I don't like to leave those. See how that's stuck in there? I can easily pry that out without damaging the tire. And there's another one. So that's just something that I do when I'm rotating them and inspect them to make sure they're not damaged. Okay, so now that all the wheels are removed and they're setting in the place that they're going to go back on the vehicle, and I've already rotated them and just waiting to put them back on. So I take some brake parts cleaner and I just spray the brakes like this, and I'll go ahead and get the lug nut area to clean that off. You can kind of go ahead and clean that whole area. Just do that around the vehicle. Just keep doing that to all 4 wheels. Before you lower the vehicle off from the air, you want to snug up all the lug nuts on every wheel. And so all that you need to do when it's back on the ground is torque them. So this torque setting for this vehicle is 94 foot-pounds. You can find your vehicle in the owner's manual. You can also watch a tutorial on how to use a torque wrench if you aren't familiar with that. This is set at 94 right now. And so what we'll do now that they're all snug but they're not torqued. So now we just come over with a torque wrench, and then you go around and you just tighten. Never use a torque wrench to loosen, and never use it as a regular wrench or it'll shorten the life of it. So just use it in this final stage. So you turn till you hear the clicking sound. There it is. So that's at 94. So I stop and I skip one, go on to the next one, and just keep doing that until all 5 of them do that right there. So just do that on every lug nut. Alright, so now that we have the tires rotated, we have the vehicle back on the floor, and we have every lug nut torqued to the manufacturer's recommendation, which for this vehicle is 94. For your vehicle will be in your owner's manual. Our final step is to put air in or take air out of the tires to get them to match the manufacturer's recommendation. So right inside your driver's side door there will be a chart that looks like this right here, and so you can see for this vehicle my front tires are supposed to be 33 psi. My rear tires are supposed to be 35. So that's what I'm going to do there. And then it also here, this is a step a lot of people skip, but your spare tire is to be at 60. And so it takes a little time, but locating the spare tire, getting that out, and going ahead and inflating it so that if you ever need it, it's ready to operate. So we're going to do that right now, and the job will be done. I hope that helps.